I want to begin by asking you, because we were talking about this a little bit last night in the green room, and I thought it was so interesting about how you came up with the idea for the film, that it actually started with a still photograph.
Yeah, to be brief and shortly, I was in Madrid in Reina Sofia Museum, and I went to an exposition that was very bad, so I was pretty depressed. So, and then I went to the store of the museum, and I was just looking at a photographer's book, and I saw this picture. This is a New Yorker photographer that I feel a little bit ashamed. We should invite him now that we're here, but well, it's called Mark and Sin. And this, I found these pictures in black and white of a guy staring at a window, is sitting, just looking at the window, almost naked, with a shoe and smoking, which is an image that is on the film. Right, it's when the guy's looking at the window right before some young guys robber the old lady. You remember that? That picture that's the image. So I saw it, and I bought the book, get back to Chile, and called Alfredo Castro, the main actor, and showed it to him and asked him if he would make a film out of that picture. And he asked me why, because I see something on his look, something that is very close to us in a way. And I felt, I couldn't tell you why, that guy is a dancer. Then I knew that he was a crack addict, which is very different, but in that moment, I thought that's what I looked at it. And we began to work on it, and then I wanted to be like a dancer also. And that began, that was 2 years ago, and then we realized that it could be a good idea, that he could also be, he wanted to be like somebody else. I think that's very important for me. Who, and he's a dancer, why not John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever? Oh, really? When was released that film? 1978. Wow. And then we thought there's a whole possibility here around the film to make it as a metaphor of the things that were happening in my country in those days.
Well, I think something that's very powerful in the film is that sense of either literally wanting to be someone else or somehow wanting to escape, whether it's just by acting these people who are sort of around the main character, or whether it's escaping into the cinema and vicariously being able to live someone else's life.
Yeah, it's very interesting because in the film it's set in 1978. In 1976, Pinochet requested and got some very young Chileans who study at Chicago University, the whole capitalism new model, and he brought them into the government, and they changed the entire system from the socialist system that we had from Allende to this capital. So we start to import a lot of things, you know, not just the economic model, just the way we eat, we dressed, we look like we wanted to be, whatever, the food, you know, and so I thought it could be a very good metaphor of all that, you know, instead of telling the huge story, you know, maybe just a small guy, the guy who doesn't matter, that he's obsessed with this. The way that everybody related to each other, is that what you wanted to know? It's very interesting for me, and it really excites me. It's very private, because I think in a way that all those characters, that they don't really care about the others, is because they're on transit, you know. The place they stay in is like a cheap hotel or a pension, or I don't know how to say in English, or something like that, pensions. Yeah. And so somebody, it's a place that you don't live there, you just stay for a while and then move. So everybody is trying to make their own living, making the day, you know. And that connection between the others it's very important because they don't want to do anything collectively, you know, all together. They do it, but what they really want to do is just to save their own situation. It's not people that have insurance or savings or whatever. They're just trying to make the day, you know, and that is very primitive and has a lot of power for me in a cinematic point of view.
And you mentioned Alfredo Castro, the star and the co-screenwriter. It's an extraordinary performance, and he really is in almost every frame of the film. Tell us a little bit about him, what his background is, and how you first came to work with him.
Well, Alfredo is 52 years old, and he's a very, very well-known actor in Chile, but he's very well respected because he has his own acting and directing school. And so I went there. He's a theater director, very well known. He has played his works in England and France as an actor and a director. So I want to learn with him, not because I want to do theater, it's not my field, but I really wanted to meet him. And in a way, I felt he's my master, and he taught me a lot. And I had the good chance to invite him, and he wanted to do it. It's very hard to believe it, but this is his second film. He's never done anything before that. And his first film is my first film too. So yeah, I had the wonderful experience to get to work with him. His work is based in Artaud, this French actor and director, intellectual French actor, and all what he's done is based on that. And he taught me that, and in a way we tried to export that from theater to cinema, in terms of the ambiguidad. It's ambiguous. Yeah, so you really don't know what's going on, and it's the audience who has to complete that. You know, you just show a fragment of something, of a life, of somebody, of society, of a country, of whatever you want, and the audience is who has to complete the rest of it. And how does the audience complete it? By their own biography. So here, like you people, what you saw a film that we showed, that it's just 4 days of somebody's life, and all the rest is something that you complete based on what you know or what you feel, and I think that's very interesting. Personally, I don't really like on films that show everything. So why to do that film? When films became a statement or something, it's something that is not interesting. And when films become something that it's too obvious, too complete, is something that is not interested. And I think that, sorry to say this, but I really think so, that Hollywood does make that damage in a way that treating people like stupid people, like you have to know everything about the characters, where life isn't like that. You don't know much people, and that's interesting, I think.